Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the OT Podcast. Another episode here. Of course, my name's Thomas Bailey, alongside, of course, the O-Meister. It is his channel, after all. We are back and ready to go for another week of the NFL season. It is now week 12. We are flying through the 2025 season. Here we are. There are 2 teams on bye this week before anything else. It is actually 4 teams, sorry. It is Washington and Miami coming off of that Madrid game, and then the Chargers coming off a horrendous loss to the Jags, and the Denver Broncos coming off potentially their best win in a long time, taking on Kansas City to increase their division lead to 4.5 games over the Chiefs, 3 games over the Chargers right now. So looking good for Denver fans. As speaking of which, we are all set to go another huge game to start it off on Thursday Night Football. Before we hop into that, we got to decide who gets this pile for this week. Total standings as of right now are 110 and 53 and 1 for both me and the AI, tied at number 1.
AI's coming.
Brian is 163 and 1 on the season. And you, my friend, are 95, 68, and 1, last place as of now. This past week or whatever, AI goes 12 and 3, getting their lock and upset of the week perfectly right, as they called that Jags upset over the Chargers. Yes, and on top of that, I went 11 and 4, finishing second in the picks. So the trophy will belong to me for this podcast episode. You finished a very good 10 and 5, and Brian with a respectable 9 and 6 on the week. Tough week of football to kind of predict. A lot of interesting things happening. Shedeur Sanders gets his first career snaps in. A lot of turmoil in that Browns-Ravens game and a bunch of other games that were really close. We have a lot of really good games this week, though. A lot of games that are going to be playoff implication matchups for these 2 teams that are in these consecutive games.
Yep.
Here we go, though. Thursday Night Football to open things up. It is the Houston Texans at home to take on the Buffalo Bills. And it is a hurting Houston Texans team, losing C.J. Stroud once again earlier today. He was ruled out for Thursday's game, so 2 nights from tonight. With another concussion, can't get out of that protocol right now. Davis Longneck Mills will take the start. Does he get the win against Josh Allen, who's 0-3 in Houston in his NFL career?
You know, I am a little bit worried for this game because I feel like Davis Mills has been doing enough for Houston so far in place of C.J. Stroud. And the Texans' defense, we all know, is one of the best in the league. I feel like they're in one of those tiers of elite status when you talk about defenses around the NFL. And the Bills had a great outing on offense last week. It was a bit up and down, though, especially in the first half. Josh Allen was a little off in that first half, but he definitely picked it up there in the second half. So coming into this game, both teams, I have quickly noticed, have very long injury reports going into this one. Oh, yeah. It's really going to be it very well could be a back-and-forth type of game because, you know, Houston's probably going to be able to run the ball with how rough the Bills' run defense has been this season. As we also know, the Bills' offense has been pretty inconsistent throughout the whole season here, as Houston, like I mentioned, has one of the best defenses in the league. So could definitely see an upset potentially happening here, but I got to go with my hometown Bills here. They're favored to win this one. I hope they do win this one, and they should be expected to win this one, especially with C.J. Stroud being out. So give me the Bills in what could be a bit of a scary game.
Yeah, you say scary game, and there's a lot of different statistics I'd like to get into for this game. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are allowing the most rushing yards per game in the NFL with 153.6 yards allowed. On top of that, the Buffalo Bills are going up against one of the best defenses in all of football right now. They are 5th against the pass as of right now in the entire league. And on top of that, their offense hasn't been that great. But it doesn't matter who's under center when you're just going to be handing the football off 90% of the game against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL and that I've ever seen, really, to be honest with you. And on top of that, I just think that this is one of those games where it's going to be very iffy. Josh Allen is 0-3 in his career in Houston, including a loss last season. However, the one redeeming factor for the Buffalo Bills fans here, Houston's defense right now, rushing yards-wise, is allowing 21st most in the entire league right now, so that would put them around 12th or 13th most that they're giving up this season. Against the run, the Buffalo Bills are still undefeated when James Cook runs for over 100 yards, so that is a great redeeming factor. And the other thing, Josh Allen is 8-0 on Thursday Night Football. I said Monday Night Football. He is 8-0 on Thursday Night Football in his NFL career. With those two factors playing into my prediction here, I think the Bills win a nail-biter in a game that shouldn't be as close as it is, but because of the defense will be 24-17. Give me Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to prevail on a short week in Houston to get Allen's first career win at NRG Stadium. As we move into another big matchup with an AFC South team, it is the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Arrowhead to take on Patrick Mahomes and the reeling Kansas City Chiefs. They have lost 2 games in a row now. They had the bye week in between, but they lost to the Bills and then the Broncos. This would be the first time in Mahomes' NFL career that they lose 3 straight games with him as the starter, full time, that is. They had one stretch where they lost 3 straight games, and one of those games was a game against Denver that he popped his kneecap out of place. So, unfortunately, that's a little bit of a negation for me, but this could be the first time ever. And on top of that, right now, the Chiefs, sitting at 5-5, are 9th in the AFC. And on top of that, the 3 wildcard teams, the Chargers, Jaguars, and Bills, what do they all have in common? They have all beaten the Kansas City Chiefs. If the Chiefs lose this game, their playoff percentage would go down to 7%. That's playoff percentage, not a Super Bowl berth. Like, everybody is still, like, I don't know how they're favored on almost every app to win the Super Bowl still. Like, they're 5-5, guys. Pack it up already. But either way, this is a huge game for Kansas City, even bigger game for Indianapolis, who could really take hold of that division and maybe even the AFC with a win in this one and knock out one of the best teams in the AFC for so long in Kansas City. Do you think that this is the end of the dynasty in Kansas City? Is it over? Do they make the playoffs, or is this a loss?
You know, we're reaching the point in the season where I've noticed, I think there's only one team this week that can get eliminated from the playoffs, that being the New York Giants, actually. As playoff locks, like to make the playoffs, we haven't, I don't think there's any of those this week, but I'm sure we'll start seeing some next week. But for a game like this is really a tough draw for the Chiefs, I feel like, because they've been having a couple really tough opponents. They had the Broncos last week. They had the Bills before their bye, and now they got the Colts here, so a really tough stretch.
And the losses have been to a lot of good teams, though. Like, they haven't lost to a bad team, in my opinion. I think their worst loss would be that Jags loss, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they lost to the Jags, Chargers, Bills, Broncos, and Eagles, so.
Yeah, but for this game, for me, I feel like Daniel Jones has been taking a little bit of a step back in the past few weeks in terms of how well he's been playing this season. He's been still playing really well this year. But again, for me, for this game, it's really, do you see the Chiefs after Week 12 having a losing record with not too many notable injuries throughout the season that have been nagging them, not too many coaching issues? It's kind of just they're flat out losing games. And do you really see them going into Week 13 at 5-6 on the season? It's very possible. But we're reaching that point where it's like, I just don't see it. Like, I'd be amazed if going into Week 13, seeing the Chiefs at 5-6, that'd be absolutely amazing. But I just really do not see it right now. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs to take down the Colts, as the dynasty will stay alive for another week.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very, very good football game, and you guys can check out Owen's scores and his predictions in his prediction video. That'll probably appear at the end of this video.
Yep, right over in that general region.
Yes, over on my lovely, ugly face. But either way, moving forward, again, some more statistics for this game. Grover Stewart is going to miss another football game this week, even after the bye week for the Indianapolis Colts, which is going to be a huge telltale in this football game for me. For one reason, Kansas City this season is 0-3 on the season when they don't rush for at least 100 yards. They had 79 last week against 2 weeks ago against the Bills, and 62 last week against Denver's defense. They are finally playing a defense where they can actually somewhat run the football, and I think that's going to help them a little bit in this football game, obviously. On top of that, the one thing that the Chiefs have done well this season is win at home. They're 4-1 at home this season. They've done everything right. They're averaging 28.6 points per game at home, which is a huge step up from that 1-4 record on the road, where they allow over 30 points and only drop 21.6 points per game on the road. So being at home is a crucial factor for this game as well. And on top of that, while it can be a good thing that the Colts are coming in off a bye week, I do think for a player like Jonathan Taylor, who when he gets hot, you want to keep him hot, having that bye week might actually hurt him, I feel. And I unfortunately think that the Kansas City Chiefs will survive as well. I think Kansas City's got a damn good football team, and I don't think I could see a Kansas City Chiefs team in like this version of the Kansas City Chiefs with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes and company ever having a losing record other than maybe like at the beginning of the season, like 0-1, 0-2 like we saw. I don't think this deep into the season we're ever going to see it. So this is the closest we may get. I do think the Chiefs prevail in a very close one, though. 27-21 in a very fun football game that's back and forth. By the way, Brian did not send me his picks. I think he's asleep or something. I have no idea what's going on with Brian. But he will send me his picks after the podcast, hopefully. But either way, we will have just the AI for today. It is Buffalo and Indianapolis as their picks to this point. So Indy is the AI's pick. And with the AI's track record, I'm hoping they're right with that Indy pick. But who knows? Moving into a less interesting football game, the Seattle Seahawks traveling into Tennessee to Nissan Stadium. The Titans had a pretty good football game last week. The defense played a lot better than expected. Again, it was against Davis Mills and the backups for the Houston Texans offense. But either way, improvement from that Tennessee Titans team. And on the other side, the Seahawks coming in off a loss in a massive game against the LA Rams. That was a game they really couldn't afford to lose, unfortunately did. Sam Darnold, 4 interceptions and a fumble in that game. Absolutely terrible play. And it comes down to the pressure, and you can't lie with statistics. He's not good against the pressure. The Titans really only have Jeffrey Simmons on that defensive line. Do they get the pressure, and do they come out with one of the biggest upsets of the season so far? At home, do the Titans take down Seattle?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do not see that happening.
I was like, what?
I kind of feel a little bit bad here because I'm going to be doing it first for this game probably. This is going to be my lock of the week right here. Yep. I got Seattle over the Tennessee Titans. It kind of amazes me that with the 5 total turnovers that Darnold had last week against the Rams, the Seahawks still had a chance at the very end of that game to potentially win it off a game-winning field goal. Obviously, the kicker didn't make it, but that just kind of shows you how tough the Seattle team is going to be to beat this season. And going on the road here, sure, cross-country trip for them, but playing arguably the worst team in the NFL right now. They had a close game against Houston, but it was with their backup quarterback, Davis Mills, in. So really not too many things to really take away from that game, especially for the Titans. Sure, their defense played okay, but again, it's kind of negated a little bit with the backup quarterback being in. So Seattle should win this game. I feel like if they lose this game, that'll be one of those huge potential upsets of the year because the Seattle's still right in the thick of it in the playoffs right now. And if they were to lose a game like this, it'd really be huge, and they'd probably not win the division if they lose to a game like this. So this is Seattle's game to lose, but I think they're going to take advantage of a weak opponent and get the win.
Yeah, this is my lock of the week as
I
well.
knew it.
I fucking hate it, but it is. This is the easiest one of the week for me to predict. I just think that Seattle's going to bounce back. And like you mentioned already, that I was definitely going to mention, it's just that Seahawks team was in it all the way to the end of that game. And if it wasn't for a couple costly penalties in that fourth quarter, they really might have come back and won that football game too. So good on Seattle's part to stay in that football game. They really slowed down Matthew Stafford, who was looking like a perennial MVP candidate before last week. And now you're playing the number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward, who has one of the worst offensive lines, not a great receiving core. I just think it's going to be too much to overcome for this Tennessee Titans team, and unfortunately for them, it's going to cost them a big one. I guess big one here for a potential upset in this one as they take a L 35-17. I think Seattle blows the doors off them. Sam Darnold going to come out and play well. As we move in to the AI's pick for this game, and it is Seattle. And now we'll swap it over to the NFC North. A matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings coming off a pretty interesting game last week against Chicago. They were down for most of that game, almost came back at the end. And then Green Bay coming off it was certainly a football game against the New York Giants. It was one of those gross ones where you just couldn't see much team chemistry or anything fun going on. It was just one of those games that's just gritty, back and forth, 2 old franchises going at it. Another chance for Green Bay here in a tough game this week. I think this is a huge football game for the Green Bay Packers. If they lose this game, they might not make the playoffs. It's looking really, really bad for them. Minnesota trying to keep their playoff hopes alive this week, really, because a loss here, plus having to play the Lions again and stuff, it's not looking too great. I do think that this is going to be a very interesting football game, like I say all the time, apparently. Packers, Vikings, who do you got in this NFC North rivalry?
Well, this is going to be a really close game, I feel like. Josh Jacobs, I don't believe, is going to be playing this week with an injury. Jordan Love got banged up last week as well. And for the Vikings last week, they were in that game pretty much the whole way through. And from a lot of what I've been seeing is that Vikings fans are quickly getting sick of J.J. McCarthy this season because he had a really rough game last week. And
they still almost won, too.
They still almost won, and that's because of really how loaded the roster is. The defense is really good. The offense has the pieces. They kind of just need that good quarterback play to really elevate themselves because they know they could be a good football team, and the fans know it too because I feel like there's been a lot of criticism on J.J. McCarthy, which, I mean, I understand he's not been playing great, but at the same time, didn't play at all last year due to an injury. And this is really his first full year of actually starting, and he was banged up earlier in the season. So if things are going to work out with J.J. McCarthy, he's going to need time to really develop. And he might not get that chance with how impatient everyone seems to be on him lately. But if the Vikings want to win this game, McCarthy has to be at least efficient if they want to win this game. But that's going to be a big question, and if he can even do that against the Packers, they have one of the best defenses really in the league. Packers did have a tough game kind of with the Giants. Was a close one in the end, but I'm going to side with the Packers. I'm not feeling too comfortable about it. I can easily see the Vikings pulling this one out. We'll see how it plays out, but give me the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those games that'll be very close to the end. I just think that Green Bay is the better football team to me on paper, and even without Josh Jacobs for this week, I think that they'll find a way. Emmanuel Wilson's been playing really well in his absence too. When he gets his touches, he's been very good with those touches. So I do think that Emmanuel Wilson will be able to step up and help Green Bay's offense kind of stay on that same happy little medium that they've been on all season. As for Minnesota, this game is going to come down to their offense, and we already knew it coming into this week. We knew it coming into the season that their whole season was going to come down to what happened with number 9 under center. Unfortunately, to this point, I think that it's over for J.J. McCarthy. I don't think he's going to get another chance next season, and it sucks. I really do think it sucks because he's a young quarterback, but at the same time, I understand where Minnesota's coming from. They made it work with a bridge quarterback in Sam Darnold. They spent a high first-round pick on this kid out of Michigan, who only threw 10 passes in the national championship game the year they won it. So he's been a game manager his entire life. He really hasn't been able to do much other than all he could do in college was just win. And I'm starting to believe that obviously, no shit, but it was not because of J.J. McCarthy that they were winning football games. Maybe it's because they had the best defense of all time statistically the season that they won the national championship with him. Or maybe the fact that, they had Jim Harbaugh as the head coach of that football team too. So, I'll leave that up to that, but I do think that J.J. McCarthy is not as good as a lot of people thought he was coming into the draft. I don't think he's as good as everybody was hoping he would be. He's almost like that great value version of Jaden Daniels. He reminds me of Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix mixed. He's just like Jaden Daniels where he can't really stay healthy, and then he's just like Bo Nix where Bo Nix can't really do much other than that hybrid quarterback, half runs, half passes, work off play actions, be that system quarterback. Unfortunately for McCarthy, the system's not working for him, and it's been an unfortunate season for him. So I think that continues this week against a really good Packers team who is not happy with where they are for sure. Obviously, Matt LaFleur has been really kind of annoyed with this whole process, being asked if he's going to give up play calling duties, all that stuff. So
yeah.
I do think Green Bay finds it here in this game, especially against a division rival in a huge football game for them. 21-17, Green Bay gets it done. As we move into the AFC a little bit here, Ravens and the Jets. Ravens coming off a very scary football game against the Cleveland Browns, and the New York Football Jets are coming off of a loss to the Patriots on Thursday Night Football, where Travion Henderson really cooked that team with 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Unfortunately for the Jets, there is a guy by the name of Derrick Henry on that other side, so it's not looking like it's going to get any better for the running a game against them this week. But does Baltimore get it done on home turf and finally get back above 500? Or do the Jets pull off a huge upset in the Ravens' comeback hopes?
Well, I will say Tyrod Taylor will be starting for the Jets this week and probably for the rest of the season here. So.
I think this is crazy. It's been happening so much, but Tyrod Taylor was drafted in the 7th round out of Virginia Tech by the Baltimore Ravens. So it's just crazy to me that all these teams keep switching their quarterbacks conveniently the week that they're playing up against their old team or the team that drafted them or whatever it may be. next thing we know, we're going to see Matthew Stafford get traded for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and we're going to have the Rams reunion with Ryan Fitzpatrick or something.
What the?
We're going to have some random shit happen like that, but either way.
I was going to say, I feel like a lot of people could have called it too with last week. Like, that'll be the last week they start Justin Fields is against the Patriots, and then they'll switch over just because so New England can get that free win there with Justin Fields starting.
Yeah.
But for this game here, Jets-Ravens. Ravens should win this game. I think they will win this game. Heavy favorites. I think that the spread is minus 14 for this game, so
Ooh.
absolutely insane for
Yeah,
that.
makes sense.
But Myles Garrett absolutely killed the Ravens last week. I believe he had 4 sacks last week.
4 sacks.
Um,
And a forced fumble.
yeah, and the Jets do not have no Myles Garrett on that defense. They don't really have much of anybody on the defense left after trading Sauce Gardner and Quinton Williams. But they've been kind of staying in games a little bit, at least for most of them anyway. But that could be a similar case here. But going into Baltimore, team that's fighting for their playoff lives, going up against the Jets, who really don't have really much going on for them right now. So Ravens should win this game. I'd be shocked if they find a way to lose this one, unless, of course, barring an injury or something like that. But give me Baltimore to win this one. May not be a pretty win, but I think any Ravens fan will take a win at this point.
Yeah, I think that's funny that you mentioned that the minus is 14 for the spread. I have the Ravens winning 27-13 in this football game.
Oh, there you go.
I think this is it's one of those games for me where it's one of those games that's got to be played, and it sucks because I know this game's going to suck ass and it's going to be very annoying. But I do think Derrick Henry's going to have a good game this week. I think that Lamar will bounce back at least a little bit. And then on top of those two things, I do think this Jets offense, even with Tyrod Taylor, they're not going to get any kind of rejuvenation from Tyrod Taylor, who's like 38. I don't think that's happening. I just think at this point they're tanking the season. They want to get a higher draft pick, and they know that what's at stake for that. Obviously, with the Titans playing Seattle this week too, so can't really afford to win much more games if you want that first or second overall pick this year. So I do think that for the Jets, it's the smart thing to do, and it's the thing that's going to end up happening inevitably. Ravens get the win at home too. I think Baltimore's just clearly the better football team, and just like that, Baltimore is 6-5, right back into the thick of the playoff race in the AFC. As we move along into the next game, actually, real quick, Green Bay and Green Bay and Baltimore are the two teams that the AI picked for the last two games. Failed to remember to tell you that.
Oh, good.
But we move into the next game. It is the Lions hosting the New York Football Giants. Jackson Dart might be back this week. I'm not too sure what's going on with that situation. Jameis Winston played pretty well in his absence. Not terrible, solid Jameis Winston game. Average, craziness from Jameis Winston. But they are playing a very good Lions team who was shut down on Sunday Night Football by the Philadelphia Eagles defense, which is very scary to me because this Eagles defense just continues to get better and better. But
Yeah.
I do think that this Lions team is due for a win, but do you think that Jackson Dart, if he's back, pulls off the upset win for Mike Kafka's offense?
I don't think so in this one. I got the Lions winning this one. After the performance the Lions had last week, they're going to come out guns blazing in this one, I feel like. And I mentioned it earlier, if the Giants lose this game, there's a scenario where they're eliminated from the playoffs already, which I also find kind of crazy because the Titans have a worse record, but they're not in contention to get eliminated this week. I find that pretty interesting. But Giants, I guess you could say the season's technically on the line this week, but I feel like the same can almost be said for Detroit here. 6-4, not even in the playoffs if the season ended today. Bears actually have the first spot in the division right now. It's a really tight race in the NFC North right now. So, like I mentioned with a couple other games earlier, you got to win these games because if you lose a game like this in this part of the season, there's a good chance you might not even end up making the playoffs. So this, I believe, is definitely a must-win for the Lions. One of those teams that feel like they can win a championship this year. So give me Detroit. We'll see in my score prediction video how much they will win by. But Detroit should win this one, and I think they will.
Yeah, I have Detroit winning this game as well as the AI. I just think Detroit's the better football team. And if you look, they lost to the Vikings by 3, 27-24. They bounced back by scoring 44 and winning that game 44-22 against the Commanders. They lost only getting 9 points last week. I just think that they're due for a win, and I think they're going to play well in this football game. I think they'll put the pedal to the metal against this Giants team. But this Giants offense, if Jackson Dart comes back, which is my prediction, he will come back, I think they'll be in contention for this football game for most of it. Every game that Dart's started has been pretty close for the New York Giants. So I do think that the Giants will keep this game pretty close at the end. 31-20, though, I do have the Lions taking home a victory in this game. As we move into one of the more interesting games of the week, and again, I know I say it a lot, but this is the Chicago Bears and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is dealing with a wrist injury, not a break, thankfully for the Steelers, obviously, but not really for us as Bills fans. But either way, he is going to be potentially healthy for this week. I'm not sure if it's him or if it's going to be Mason Rudolph starting this week. That's still up in the air for us. We don't have an idea.
Yeah.
But I do think that Chicago coming in, they're 7-3, playing some of the best football we've seen them play. Does Caleb Williams and this Bears team continue to elevate their game, and do the Steelers find a way on the road in Chicago?
This will probably be a hot take here, but I think the Steelers will win this game, regardless if it's Rodgers or Mason Rudolph in this one. Because last week, the Bears did beat the Vikings. For that game, all that needed to happen was J.J. McCarthy to be at least efficient, and the Vikings probably would have won that football game against the Bears. So I feel like in that situation, it's kind of almost like a Bears might be due for a loss here. And on top of that the Steelers' defense, I think, has been getting better week by week as these weeks have been going on here. And the offense, I feel like in this game, just has to be efficient. If Rudolph or Rodgers, whoever's playing, can be efficient for the offense in this one, I think the Steelers' defense is going to suffocate the Bears' offense. Could be a bold prediction, I guess, right there, but that's kind of really what I'm feeling like for this game. So I know the Bears are favored in this one by, I believe, 3 points in this one. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think the Steelers' defense is going to continue to dominate, and they're really going to take over this game, and it's going to lead to the Steelers winning this game.
Nice. Unfortunately, I am not on that same wavelength as you. I think Chicago's got this all day. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph, I think the Bears win this football game. So I just think that the Bears are the better football team. And right now, yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense has been getting better. The one thing they can't do, though, is still stop the pass. They're 27th in the league against the pass coming into this week. And unfortunately, this is not a run-heavy team in Chicago that you're going against. They have DeAndre Swift. They're not running the football, I promise you. But they're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to throw the ball all over the yard, and we all know that they can do it precisely. And then one thing that really works here for me is Ben Johnson last year, and another nice little statistic that I like to mention. Last season, when the Lions, because he was on the Lions as the offensive coordinator last year, when they faced teams that were blitz-happy teams, they scored 40 points in 3 of the 5 games they played last year against teams that are heavy on the blitz. You know who another team is that is heavy on the blitz? The Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Because what are they trying to do? If their secondary can't hold up for 10 seconds when you run cover 3, you're going to have to get after the quarterback, blitz him, and force him under pressure. And unfortunately for them, Ben Johnson is a master at fucking stopping blitzes. And so, unfortunately for this team on the other side here in Pittsburgh, I think that's going to be the difference. I think it's going to be very close. I think it will be one of those very good football games of the week. I just think Chicago comes out with a 3 or 2-ish point game. I think they're going to win 23-21, a close game. I think Pittsburgh's offense will keep them in it, and the defense will keep them in it. I just think that Chicago's slightly better. However, I think that we might start to see a little bit of a fall off from the Bears coming soon, but that is for another day. I do think Chicago holds on and wins this one, as the AI will agree with me this week. So Chicago picks are in for both me and the AI. As we move into the Patriots and the Bengals, a big one here in Cincinnati. Still no Joe Burrow as of right now for this football game, so it looks like it's going to be Joe Flacco.
Yeah, there you go.
Unfortunately, but it looks like New England might be on their way to another win. Is that going to happen, or do you think the Cincinnati Bengals get this one done and pull off an upset at home against the Patriots?
Unfortunately, I do see the Patriots winning this game and going to 10-2.
Should have made this your lock of the week.
No, I'm not gonna go that far.
Reverse jinx it.
Well, yeah,
like
I could have done
Brian,
that.
like
yeah.
Brian.
I feel like that only works.
Hopefully,
if Brian, doesn't do it.
Brian, please do that. You know, if
Yeah,
you're watching
Brian.
this, because you still haven't sent me your picks yet, you weirdo.
Oh,
Crazy
he's
dude.
probably enjoying his walk right now. Maybe. We'll
No,
see.
he's probably enjoying his call.
Whoa, okay. But for this game, I think a big factor is going to be Jamar Chase not playing this game because he just had to spit on Jalen Ramsey conveniently the week they play the Patriots coming up. But
He said he spit on the ground. Like, come on. It literally hit him right in the chest.
yeah,
like,
no. You think the players would learn, but no. But even so, the Bengals last week when they played the Steelers, their offense has really been humming up until they played the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got absolutely shut down by them. And they had a couple turnovers in the game too. And the Patriots defense is not, I don't think it's as good as the Steelers defense is, but it's still a pretty solid defense there in New England. And again, this is kind of another one of those games. The Bengals have one of the worst defenses in the league. We know that. So the Patriots just continue to do what you're doing, and you're going to probably score a lot of points in the Cincinnati defense. And then the Bengals, with having a rough game on offense last week and now not having Jamar Chase, just screams like a recipe to disaster for me. So give me New England as they continue their impressive start to the season at 10-2.
Yeah, I have to agree here. I think New England's by far the better football team. And while I do think that this Bengals offense will be able to score some garbage time points, much like how the Jets did last week, I think New England's going to have this game over by halftime, 34-20. I think New England's by far the better football team. However, the AI has its upset of the week this week.
Damn!
As the Cincinnati Bengals over the New England Patriots, which the AI has been 4 for 4 in the last 4 weeks against the
I think that
for the
streak might
upsets.
end soon.
I think it's about to end, guys. But either way, New England, you might be screwed because the AI said so.
Yeah.
But either way, we'll see what happens. Moving into probably the shitter of the week, the Toilet Bowl, Raiders and the Browns, 2-8 teams going at it. The Raiders coming off a Monday Night Football absolute blowout loss to the Cowboys. And the Browns kept it close for 3.5 quarters against that Baltimore Ravens team. Even into that fourth quarter, they were still right there if Shedeur Sanders could throw a fucking football. But either way, Cleveland going into Las Vegas here. It is a huge game. It's just in time, too. Prime time. Deion Sanders, best friends with Tom Brady, apparently. And his son's got to go in and take on his team, I guess, in this one. What do you think happens? Do you think the Browns win, or do you think Las Vegas has it?
After the events of last week, I am going to lean towards the Cleveland Browns to win this game. I know the Raiders are the favorites in this one. They got absolutely killed by the Cowboys last week, and their offensive line, it did not look great. And now you're playing up against one of probably the all-time greats, Myles Garrett, coming up this week. And I know Shedeur Sanders had a really rough outing to start last week, but I think he will be better. He's probably not going to be great, but I think he's going to be better because Kevin Stefanski, I believe, said this after the game. That was Shedeur Sanders' first time playing with the ones since, just
He's
after the
been
draft.
drafted.
Yeah, so just getting a week of reps with the starters, I feel it can definitely help. So I expect to see some improvement from Shedeur Sanders this week, especially going against the Raiders defense, too, on top of that. So I think this is going to be one of those low-scoring, ugly games. But when it comes down to it, I think Myles Garrett will be the difference in this one, as I think the Browns will get the win in the Toilet Bowl against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I don't like that you say that Myles Garrett specifically will be. I think it's that entire Cleveland defense. They have such a good fucking unit on that defensive side of the ball, and I think it's going to be enough in this game. I think this is going to be absolutely an atrocious football game to watch. It's going to be a really bad football game, but I do think Cleveland pulls this one out 20-14. I think the Browns' defense is going to be good enough, and that's basically it. That's all it's going to come down to in this football game. The offense for the Raiders is slightly better than the Browns' offense, but that defense is a mile ahead of the Las Vegas Raiders' defense. I guess Shedeur Sanders is going to go gambling, and he's going to win in his first career NFL start. I hate that they play the Raiders because everybody's going to be dick-riding Shedeur Sanders thinking he's so good because they're going to beat a 2-8 Raiders team in this game. But hopefully we can be saved by a Raiders win, which is what the AI has. Is Las Vegas with the win. as we move into the latter half of our game, starting it off with the Arizona Cardinals playing host to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are coming in off a shellacking of the LA Chargers, absolutely cooked them to shreds. And the Arizona Cardinals are coming in off a tough loss this past weekend to the 49ers in another game where they just can't stop the rushing game. It's not been the best game to watch for these two teams, but who do you think wins this game? Do you think the Cardinals pull off an upset at home, or do the Jaguars keep rolling here in Duval County?
Well, with how the season has been going this year, like this screams at with the craziness, it screams that the Cardinals are going to win this game because, the Jaguars just had a super impressive game and the Cardinals didn't look great at all last week. So You think the Cardinals would win this game, but no, I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. I think last week for Jacksonville was a statement win for them over the Chargers. And it's really one of those games where you kind of have to build off of that performance and continue to play well. The Cardinals, I feel like they started off well when Jacoby Brissett was first put into the fold, but it has not been looking great over the past few weeks here. So I think the life of the Cardinals is quickly deflating here as the weeks fade out as we approach December here. But Jacksonville had a really impressive game last week. I see no reason why they should lose this game. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you should win this game. So give me the Jaguars here over Arizona.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to go to the statistics as I tend to do. This season, Liam Cohen has figured out how to win football games with this Jaguars team. And you know how? You take Trevor Lawrence out of the game. You know why? Trevor Lawrence this season alone, they are 0-3 when Trevor Lawrence throws for 225 passing yards or more. That is so sad. They're 6-1 when he's held under 225 yards. It sounds so opposite, doesn't it?
It does.
However, it is not. It is true. And basically the one thing you got to do in this football game is you got to be able to run the football. And luckily for them, they're going up against the Cardinals, who have one of the worst defenses against the run. They're 4-0 this season when they top 150 rushing yards. They do have Travis Etienne, who's been very good these past couple weeks, and Bashile Tutin, the fourth-round rookie out of Auburn. He's been doing everything he can do to keep this team afloat as well. However, I looked at the injury report earlier today. He was listed as a did not participate today, I guess. It's only Tuesday, but he didn't participate due to an ankle injury that he sustained in the last game, so maybe he doesn't play this football game. It could be pretty interesting. And so the problem for the Jags is if he's injured and he doesn't come into this game full speed, Travis Etienne, this season so far, he has had a game over 100 yards, and then the week after he has put up 39 yards, 47 yards, and 68 yards the week after he's put up 100 yards. He's done it 3 times this season. The following week, he's put up less than 68 yards in all 3 of those games. That is a terrible, terrible statistic for the Jaguars fans. On top of that, another thing that's really important, the Jags are allowing 236.9 passing yards per game, which is the 7th worst number in the NFL. In Week 10, they let Davis Mills put up 327 yards passing against them in a come-from-behind win for the Houston Texans, which what happened in that game? They lost, right? A huge game for them, and just so happens they're going up against Jacoby Brissett and the pass-happy Cardinals all of a sudden because he just completed the most passes out of any quarterback in NFL history with 47 in one game last week.
It's crazy.
Terrible, terrible spot for the Jaguars. On top of that, the Jaguars have been burned by tight ends this year, allowing over 100 yards 6 times to a tight end. You know who the only good passing fucking option on the entire Cardinals offense is? It's Trey McBride, the tight end. That's a terrible, terrible spot for this Jaguars team.
My God.
It's really not fun for them. Unfortunately, I think after pulling off a win against the Chargers the way they did last week, this would be the most Jacksonville Jaguars thing of all fucking time to lose this football game. So give me the Arizona Cardinals. 27-24 in my upset of the week. Arizona, please live up to the hype in this football game. My biggest upset of the week so far was the Titans beating the Cardinals. Now it could be the Cardinals beating the Jags, and then maybe the Jags beating somebody else later to keep the chain rolling.
To allude to later on, I feel like I might arguably have a bigger upset as we move along. But, I mean, that's for the viewers and you to decide, so.
Yes. And speaking of which, obviously, the AI thinks I am delusional, so the AI has Jacksonville as well as you. So, unfortunately for me, I look crazy and senile right now, but it's fine. As we move into the next football game, it is the Dallas Cowboys playing host to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are now 8-0 in the month of November since 2023.
Woo.
They are absolutely cooking in this month, especially that defense, who has now given up, I think, was it 10 points against the Packers, or was it 3?
Oh, it's 10 points.
It was 10, and then 9 last week to the Lions. So on pace right now for a hell of a defensive effort, only allowing 9.5 points per game on average between those last 2 games against 2 good offenses too. So who knows what could happen here. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are at home. Do they win a division rivalry matchup? They need this football game to stay in the playoff race. Eagles looking to lament themselves as the number 1 seed. What do you see happening?
Yeah, it is a big game for Dallas, but the Eagles' defense has been so great these past couple weeks. Like, they've really been the best defense in the league, and they're really showing that. They're flexing their muscles right now, but the offense is still continuing to look very shaky. I think the defense has kind of been bailing them out these past few weeks, and it really, like, it's kind of funny, like, the Eagles are like the Broncos of the NFC right now. It's pretty crazy.
Can't figure out the offense, but the defense has been saving them.
Yeah, but for this game, I think the Eagles are due for a loss. Give me the Dallas Cowboys in this one. George Pickens had an amazing game last week. Those are 2 number 1 receivers that Philly has to worry about, both CD and Pickens. They did play the Raiders last week, so take for that which you will. But Philly's defense has been amazing. I can easily see them holding them here in this one. But the Eagles' offense for me has been really bad. And honestly, I feel like it's kind of at the point where they're going to continue to kind of neglect it until they lose a football game. And they're like, okay, like the defense can't save us every week. We're really going to have to like figure something out here. So I'm going to go with Dallas in this one in a big upset. See if they can get it done and see if the Cowboys defense can step up going up against the pretty lackluster Eagles offense right now. So pick and choose who you want. Philly's the favorites. Won't be surprised if you go with Philly, but that is who I got winning this game.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that this is like the Denver Broncos of the NFC. As I did literally in almost the exact same fashion as this game, a division rivalry game, a historic rivalry game against the Broncos and the Chiefs last week. If this game was played last week and the Chiefs-Broncos was this week, I would have totally picked the Cowboys probably to win this game over Philadelphia just because Philly's offense had been struggling. They haven't really won a game convincingly in a while. But what are they doing right now? They're winning football games that they shouldn't be winning. And that's all that I can really say. And basically with where I'm at, with how they've been playing in November, there's no way I'm picking against Philadelphia until they lose. If they lose this game, I might choose somebody else. I don't know who they got next week, but maybe I'll have them lose next week. Who knows? But I think at least for the time being, with how things are looking right now, I'm not going to pick against Philadelphia. I think they're still a solid football team. They're winning in spite of that terrible offense so far. It's only a matter of time before they get it going. I think this could be the week that they do. I have a 31-21 win here for the Philadelphia Eagles, taking down the Dallas Cowboys in a pretty fun one here, as so does the AI. AI has Philadelphia winning this game as well.
I like it.
As we move into the next game, it is the Falcons and the Saints, another division rivalry matchup. It is the last one of the week, thankfully. But
there we go.
It is the last one of the week. There's still 2 more games to go after this. Saints and Bucks. Saints and Falcons, a big matchup here for the Falcons, who just lost Michael Penix. He's on IR. Drake London will likely be out for the next couple weeks
Sigh.
as well. So do you think the Saints win this game? They are at home. They have a lot of matchups pretty good for this game. Or do you think Atlanta walks into New Orleans and gets a pretty big win?
You know, for this game, I feel like everything is kind of screaming the Saints' way for this one. They just lost Michael Penix. They lost Drake London for this game. And the Saints are just coming off their bye week. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for the Saints to get the win.
Give me the Falcons.
But my gut is telling me to go with the Atlanta Falcons, so that's what I'm going to do for this game. I feel like the Falcons might not need to really throw the ball a whole lot in this one because I feel like Bijan Robinson can do a lot of damage to the Saints' defense here, as the Saints still have Tyler Shough in at starting quarterback, so I feel like the Falcons can really suffocate the Saints' offense in this one. So all we really need to see is an efficient Kirk Cousins, a Falcons offense that won't turn the ball over, and I think the Falcons will have a pretty good chance to win this game. The Falcons have really kind of fallen off the past few weeks. Like after they beat the Bills, they kind of just fell right out of the sky. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of respond in a game like this. They're going up against one of the worst teams in the league in the Saints right now. So, but they don't have the starting quarterback or one of their starting receivers. So we'll see how it plays out. And I know the Saints are favored to win this one too, which is also interesting. But it gave me the Falcons to go into New Orleans and take care of the Saints.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is primed for a win in this game. I just think everything's going their way. A lot of key injuries for the Falcons, which the only real way you're going to win that football game if you're Atlanta is that offense. And I think that with how everything's been going for them, I think it's only a matter of time before Tyler Shuck and that offense break through for them as well. So I think one major takeaway here for this game is just like the Saints' offensive line. They've continued to play very well on the offensive line, and I think that they're doing everything they have to do. The Falcons' defense has been very good when they can force pressure on the opposing teams, hence why they drafted 2 first-round edge rushers in the draft this past season. So I think that it's going to be one of those games that's going to come down to the pressure. Unfortunately for Atlanta, this game favors the Saints in that regard, so go ahead and give me the Saints in a pretty close one, back and forth, 27-20 as the Saints get a big one there, as the AI will agree with me once again, picking the New Orleans Saints. As we move into the second-to-last football game and arguably the biggest game of the week, Sunday Night Football, the LA Rams at home in SoFi Stadium to take on the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have lost 2 straight. Tampa Bay has not been doing their best these last couple of weeks, obviously, with a loss to the Bills and Patriots. 2 very good teams. Still, you got to play who you got to play. You got to beat who you got to beat. And unfortunately for them right now, it looks like they might lose the division potentially if they don't figure this out soon. Tough game this week for both them and the Panthers, though, so we'll get to them soon. But who do you have winning this one? Do the Rams keep it going, or do the Bucs finally get back on track?
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier a little bit with how the Eagles are that team to you, where it's like until they lose, I can't pick against them. That's how I feel with the LA Rams right now. So give me the Rams to win this one. They had a really tough game against a really good Seahawks team. Came down to the end, and what kind of scared me a little bit is that the fact they let the Seattle Seahawks hang around that entire game despite the 5 turnovers on offense, which I feel like could be like a little vulnerability thing a little bit, but Seattle does have a really good defense. Tampa's coming off their worst game of the season defensively to the Bills last week, Bills are a really inconsistent offense too, so take for that what you will. But Sean Tucker had a really good game last week, so maybe he could do something this week. We'll see. But I really feel like for Tampa, I feel like Baker's kind of working with what he's got on offense right now because they have a lot of injuries in the offensive side of the ball. It's not easy for him, but he's trying to make it work the best that he can. But the defense hasn't really been doing their part in these past few games either. So give me the Rams to win this one. It's a big Sunday night matchup, and the NFC South division is really up for grabs.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think this Rams team, like you mentioned, they're like the Philadelphia Eagles for you. I think the Bucs are like the Philadelphia Eagles, but opposite. The Buccaneers, since the start of the 2023 season, the Bucs have played 6 November road games, and they are 1-5 in that stretch. They are on the road, and it is a November game, just for you to understand. But I don't know who makes the schedule requests for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he must stop scheduling games that are on the road in November. Either way, though, they are also not going to be happy because they also have to play Matthew Stafford in this football game. The Bucs are surrendering 241.6 passing yards per game this year, which is the 6th worst passing number this season. They're also giving up 7.4 yards per pass attempt, which is 3rd worst in the league, behind 2 teams, the Steelers, who we've mentioned a lot because they haven't been that great, and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Ooh.
So really bad company to be in, especially when you're going up against Matthew Stafford, who doesn't turn the ball over. In his past 7 games, he has 22 touchdown passes to 0 interceptions. In his last 7 games. He has 27 passing touchdowns this season with 2,557 passing yards, 5th in the league, 1st in the league in passing touchdowns with those 27. So I just think this is one of those games for me that it's going to come down to that Buccaneers defense being able to go up against that Bucs, being able to play up against the Bucs offense. It's not at 100%. It's unfair. It's like when you're playing a team on All Madden when your setting is on All Pro. It's just not fair. They have it way easier than you're going to have it down the stretch. And for a team that gave up 6 total touchdowns to Josh Allen last week and also gave up 300 yards to Drake May with 4 touchdowns against that Patriots offense, It's just not looking great for the Buccaneers, and they're playing another very good team. And again, like you mentioned, until they lose, I can't pick against them. You could argue the Rams should be only a one-loss team this season, as their only other loss was to the Eagles on a blocked field goal attempt at the end of the game that was returned for a touchdown. So you take that away and they kick that field goal and make it, who knows? But it's ridiculous right now. This Rams team is so good on paper, and they've looked even better than these last couple of weeks. The one way to win these football games is to have a good defense against the Rams. The Seahawks almost did last week. It's just they don't have the defense that the Seahawks do, the Bucs don't. So unfortunately, I do have the Los Angeles Rams taking home a 34-27 shootout win here at SoFi. I'm praying that it's actually a good Sunday Night Football game. We've had a lot of shitty ones.
Thank you, Philly.
Yeah, I do think that this one happens to be a good football game, though. As we move into the last football game of our weekend, I guess weekday, because it would be Monday Night Football. The 49ers are at home in the Christian McCaffrey reunion game here. Carolina Panthers are traveling into San Francisco, Santa Clara. And with the Buccaneers losing for both of us, including the AI also has the Rams winning. That means that if the Panthers win this football game, they would be first in the NFC South for the first time since 2017.
Damn.
That's a long time to be without a division crown. They didn't win the division crown that year. They just had the division lead at one point that season. Unfortunately for them, Atlanta won the division. But either way, this is a huge game for them. They know what's on the line. They know what's at stake. Do they walk in and win this one and say, fuck you, McCaffrey? Or does Christian McCaffrey just keep it rolling?
Well, I would say with how the statistics have been for the 49ers the past while, mentioned it in our last podcast if you guys listened to it, but last week the 49ers were due for a win because they've been on their trajectory of win-loss, 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 and they won last week, shockingly. And now, this week, they're due for a loss. But I'm going to go with the 49ers
I was gonna say.
to win this game. Really, for this one, I feel like the Panthers kind of just like stat padded themselves a little bit just because they have the Falcons number. The past 3 games they played them, they've looked really good on offense. Their best games, probably the 3 best offensive performances in the past 2 years have probably all gone against the Atlanta Falcons. And those are Bryce Young's best games, too, are against the Falcons. So they really got something figured out with them. But in all the other games, not too great. Bryce Young, I feel like, is kind of inconsistent. He'll have games like he did last week where he looks really good. And then you have other games like the week before where he looked pretty iffy. So, and then you also got Brock Purdy back. They hung up over 40 on the Cardinals last week. So we'll see how the offense continues to hum. With Christian McCaffrey, too, he has been borderline unstoppable this season. And I don't think the Panthers are going to be stopping him either. So give me the 49ers to win this one on Monday night to advance their record to 8-4 on the year.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree here. Carolina, though, I've mentioned this to you before the podcast. Carolina's had an interesting, weird little gimmick going on right now. They are 6-0 this season when they win the coin toss, and all of their losses have come when they lose the coin toss, obviously. So it's not a very good statistic for Panthers fans to start the game, because if they lose the toss, they're going to absolutely have zero faith, like me, against Bills in the playoff game against the Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
And on the flip side of things here, has never won a primetime game in his NFL career. He is 0-2 in primetime, and now he has to face a rejuvenated 49ers team that just got Brock Purdy back last week. He played pretty well. I think that it's going to be a good football game for them. I think the 49ers are going to keep it rolling here, and I understand that they've been win-loss, but they didn't have Purdy during that stretch. I think that they'll finally get things back on track here, as I think the 49ers win this one to close out the week. And lastly, it is the AI's lock of the week. He said, screw you, Carolina. San Francisco is the win for them, as me and you had 4 different games this week. We'll find out how many we have different from Brian whenever he sends me his NFL picks. Do that now, Brian, please. Anyway, more than anything, thank you guys so much for watching another great episode of the OT Podcast. Owen, he will have his score prediction video for you guys somewhere over here on this side of the screen at the end of this video. Owen, I'll kick it to you to close things out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Well, if you guys enjoyed the video, thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you guys want to subscribe, that'd be oh so amazing. It'll be right over here, probably right above me somewhere. As like Thomas mentioned, if you want to watch my score prediction videos, short little 2-3 minute long videos, you can watch them over somewhere on Thomas over there for you guys to watch. But with that being said, I don't have much else to say except Lifeforms out.